rematches. They help fortify the sport of boxing. They help push and move the sport forward. When you have quality fights that call for the talents to come together a second time, it's something that helps sustain the quality of what you're looking at by the efforts of those men in the ring. And so there's word that talks are beginning for a rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Beterbiev Bivol, maybe for February 22nd. That's not very far away. But if this happens to be the case, I'm down for it, because we need to see these two men again. Their first fight, a classic that was close, but it's time for someone to put a stamp on who's truly the best between the two. So a rematch would be a good thing for these two fighters. Let's talk about the news that's been released. The first time, the first meeting between Artur Beterbiev and Beterbiev Bivol, the two men who held titles two apiece in the light heavyweight division. That fight proved to be a closely contested match, and it was exciting. Many people felt that Beterbiev Bivol did enough to defeat the knockout artist in Artur Beterbiev over 12 rounds. But what we were able to witness was quality between two men of opposing abilities. Artur brought a record of 20-0 with 20 KOs into that fight, and Dimitri was undefeated. However, that 23-0 with 12 KO record kind of indicated that we weren't going to expect a knockout from him, but more of his boxing prowess, which he readily displayed on the night that they met back in October the 12th of 2024. So now word is coming down that these two men may be on track for a rematch. And it's being discussed for February 22nd in Ryadh season. Again, shout out to Turkey Al-Sheikh. Now, On the same card, there's a potential fight between IBF heavyweight champion Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker. Does it get any better than that? You see, when we see this opportunity for the sport to be driven forward, it comes at the behest of the support that we have shown with these successful events. The best fighting the best on a consistent basis, something that we never thought we would get to in the sport of boxing, but it is here and it is time to embrace it fully. The endorsement of what we receive with these quality Ryadh season events is something that people are just not really owning up to. Now, the article from Boxing News 24, the link will be in the description, says that Dubois versus Parker and Beterbiev versus Bivol 2 is being planned for February 22nd, the Ryadh season card that will be absolutely stacked, according to Dan Raphael on X. Fans have been complaining about the results of the previous Beterbiev Bivol fight, believing that Bivol had been robbed of a victory. Bivol had fought well in the first half, but ran the second half of the contest after Beterbiev began shelling him with non-stop punches from the seventh. Bivol, who's 33, will be getting a quick rematch against Beterbiev after losing to him by a 12-round majority decision on October 12th, losing by the scores of 115 to 113, 116 to 112, and 114 to 114. Promoter Eddie Hearn didn't take the high road after his fighters lost, Bivol being his fighter, calling it sickening. However, he'll be happy now that he's getting a rematch. Those words probably come from Dan Raphael as well. But my words state that a rematch between these two men is needed because of the quality of fighters that they happen to be. You see, there's not often a time when you have a knockout artist and a boxer face one another and it be so closely contested. We're talking about this particular decision was mired in what you like as a viewer of the sport. If you like the guy who crushes people and KOs them, maybe you were leaning toward Artur Beterbiev. Dmitry Bivol was expected, even by myself, to get annihilated. However, Bivol stayed away, got in and out, used his movement, and remained competitive throughout the fight without the threat of being stopped. However, some of that movement and some of his punching was not enough to stave off trying to take the titles that Artur had. Although Artur was pursuing him, he didn't seem to have his same venomous passion as he has displayed on many other occasions. I remarked after watching the fight, I said maybe it's because they're countrymen and they didn't really want to do each other in, being at the top of the sport. And maybe the directive came from a higher source whom they would defer to. I won't go into that again. However, it is very interesting to consider something as such. So at the end of the day, we're looking at two men who now have been forced to go in there and do what's necessary. And I expect that very thing to take place when they get in there for the second time. And if it happens to be February 22nd, that's just around the corner, and it's an exciting time because the first quarter of 2025 is looking up already. And then when you talk about the likes of Daniel Dubois possibly putting his IBF title on the line against Joseph Parker, that's definitely a heavyweight match to consider. And who knows how things can turn out. Beterbiev has an opportunity to rewrite history and to do away with Bivol. But what do you think? This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about this fight, the rematch. Are you ready for it? Let's start beating the drums for it and discuss further. Leave comments. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.